Cross-stitching is a popular technique for filling large areas with low stitch counts. It can also be used for outlines and borders. It's suitable for homeware, tablecloths, children's clothes and folk designs. In this video, we look at various techniques for creating cross-stitch designs using both the dedicated Wilcom Cross Stitch application and EmbroideryStudio. Cross-stitch fabric is evenly woven in both directions, creating uniform squares, ideal for precise stitching. These even weave fabrics ensure stitches form perfect squares or fractions of squares. In ES cross-stitch, design size depends on fabric count, stitches per inch. Higher counts create smaller, denser designs. The fabric count in the software may not coincide precisely with fabric count on the machine. To adjust design size, open the fabric count dialog, pick inches or millimeters, and enter your desired count. Set up your design grid for easy visualization of cross-stitch placement. Use the Show Major Lines option and adjust the spacing to match your fabric count. For example, with a 14 stitch per inch fabric, set major grid lines every 14 crosses to clearly see each square inch of your design. You can also visualize your design within a target hoop. Optionally, select a background color or fabric for more realistic previews and presentations. Begin by importing artwork as a digitizing guide using solid images for clear color blocks. Hold down Alt while clicking the Select tool to resize the image to fit your grid. For this geometric design, we'll first create fills for the top left section. Choose your thread type and color from the respective toolbars. Set your preferred stitch density using the threads list values 2, 4 or 6 crossovers. These can be adjusted any time. Use the cross-stitch fill tool to digitize shapes. Left-click for sharp corners and right-click for curved ones. Press Enter, then set cross-stitch orientation in the Select Fill Style dialog. Fill amber areas with half cross stitches, setting orientation in the same dialog. Repeat this process for all shapes in the top left quadrant. Now we turn our attention to the edges of the shapes we've just digitized. Using quarter crosses, we trim the edges of the shape. Here we use half cross to delineate the border. Finally, check your design carefully to make sure there are no gaps between crosses. If so, join them with the same stitch type where possible. This will prevent unwanted trims and tie-offs. Having completed it, we are going to duplicate the entire quadrant to the other quadrants of the design. Using the Polygon Select tool, select the entire area. Use the Rubber Stamp tool in conjunction with the Mirror Selection tools to duplicate and mirror the selection to the other quadrants. Finally, using the Auto Select and Rotate Selection tools, we complete the inner quadrants. And there we have it, a completed cross-stitch design using a variety of cross-stitch fills and borders, entirely created in Wilcom Cross Stitch using manual digitizing and editing techniques. Save the design to EMX format. Now we turn our attention to automatic digitizing techniques. Again, we insert our artwork. Align the artwork to the grid. Select the Auto Stitch Image tool and click the image. Use the dialog to preset thread chart, number of colours and background stitching. Hide the grid and artwork to study the result. This can now be manually cleaned up and highlights and shadows added. Use the Flood Fill tool to change stitch types and/or colours as preferred. Use the Pencil tool to add details. Avoid trims by linking same colours. It helps to work in pixel mode instead of crosses. The pixels just have to touch at the corners. And there we have it, a completed cross-stitch design using a variety of cross-stitch fills and borders, entirely created in Wilcom Cross Stitch with lettering added in EmbroideryStudio. Here we look at inserting a cross-stitch EMX design file into EmbroideryStudio and incorporating lock stitch elements. Notice that the EMX file is treated by EmbroideryStudio as manual stitch blocks. For this reason, scaling in ES is not advisable. Note that colour blocks are pre-sequenced by the cross-stitch application. The EMX file brings with it the thread palette set in the cross-stitch application. Toggle functions to check the number of trims in the cross-stitch design. Because of the blocky nature of cross-stitch designs, a certain number of trims is inevitable. You may be able to resequence some of these for more efficient stitch out. Using the Mirror Merge Array tool, we can create repeating patterns with our cross-stitch design. Using any of the lock stitch tools, add borders, embellishments and details. Use Mirror Merge to duplicate and reflect repeating elements. Resequence colour blocks as necessary in the colour object list. And there we have it, a completed cross-stitch design using a variety of cross-stitch fills and borders, entirely created in Wilcom Cross Stitch with borders added in EmbroideryStudio. Let's look at how to create cross-stitch designs in EmbroideryStudio itself using the dedicated cross-stitch stitch type. Again, we import our artwork. Unlike lock stitch embroidery, cross-stitch does not involve overlapping objects or stitch blocks. In fact, these are to be avoided. For that reason, cross-stitch lends itself to automatic digitizing as the first step. Here we use Instant Smart Design to quickly convert the image to embroidery. Use the colour object list to recolour colour blocks or merge similar colours as preferred. Selecting the bird and objects, click the cross-stitch icon. All complex fill objects now appear as cross-stitching. Check the object properties. Notice that cross-stitch properties also include the concept of fabric count. By default, cross stitches are set to 14 stitches per inch. Note that cross-stitching is perfectly aligned in adjoining objects having the same fabric count. Note that fabric count in EmbroideryStudio is used to set the size of crosses and has no bearing on object size. If you resize an object with cross-stitch fill, crosses are regenerated according to the current fabric count. Adjust cross-stitch density by means of the fabric count. Increase for tighter stitching, decrease for more open stitching. The stitch style setting is limited to 2 cross-stitch types, full or upright. Even if you mix and match, Note that all stitches align if set to the same fabric count. You can adjust cross-stitch weight by stitching once, twice or 3 times. The number of crossovers corresponds to values 2, 4 and 6 in the threads field. Add other lock stitch design elements such as outlines and lettering as preferred. And there we have it, a cross-stitch design entirely crafted in EmbroideryStudio using a combination of cross-stitch and lock-stitch design elements. Many more creative possibilities are offered by EmbroideryStudio in combination with the cross-stitch application to create vibrant cross-stitch designs in combination with lock-stitch. And if your machine supports it, other decorative elements such as sequins and beading. For more information about the Wilcom Cross Stitch app, refer to the latest EmbroideryStudio online help or cross-stitch supplement. Thanks for watching.